silicon architecture requires absolute precision. The patent system requires structural rigidity. When advanced engineering collides directly with hostile family litigation, the resulting documentation is strange. This is United States Patent and Trademark Office Application 19-746-749. It details a monolithic, bidirectional active matrix display system, officially titled the Pixel-Level Electro-Optical Readout Wide-Angle Imaging Node, PERWIN for short. The technical specifications are surrounded by highly unusual metadata on the cover page. The document states the inventor is filing while under a de facto office arrest, generated by a void capias order in a Texas district court, and explicitly points the reader to an active Supreme Court docket currently under review. Further into the technical filing, the author has embedded a 40-page certified verbatim audio transcript of a domestic pre-mediation meeting. We will deconstruct this application on two fronts. First, we'll examine the physics of the PERWIN system, which functions as a zero-trust hardware display. Second, we'll analyze the document as a preemptive legal weapon, constructed to block intellectual property derivation claims. The application treats both the physical behavior of light and the bureaucratic machinery of the USPTO as programmable systems, engineered for absolute isolation. Standard bidirectional displays rely on external camera modules, hidden behind apertures or transparent subsegments of the screen. This physical separation creates alignment constraints, severe parallax, and obvious optical ports that reveal the presence of a recording device to the user. This diagram shows the PERWIN hardware stack. Instead of a separate camera, microscale organic photodetectors, or OPDs, are deposited directly onto the active matrix thin film transistor substrate. It is an interleaved layout where the sensors sit on the exact same structural plane as the red, green, and blue OLED subpixels. Because the display emitters and the camera sensors share a single glass plane, turning both on at the same time would blind the photodetectors. The logic board must strictly manage photon collisions to capture a clear image. This timing graph displays the system's exogenous mode, which turns the screen into a wide-angle camera facing the room. It operates using two square waves, the global emission enable line, which controls the OLEDs, and the transfer gate line, which controls the sensors. They are operated entirely out of phase. The logic board drops the emission line low, instantly deactivating the entire OLED array and turning the screen completely dark for 500 microseconds. Simultaneously, the transfer gate pulses high. During this sub-millisecond dark interval, the sensors activate and integrate only the ambient light entering from the external environment. Human biology possesses a limitation known as the flicker fusion threshold. If a light source blinks rapidly enough, the optic nerve processes it as a continuous beam of light. By synchronizing sensor integration within these sub-millisecond gaps, the system captures external light while the display appears continuously bright and flicker-free to the human eye. The hardware operates as an invisible, aperture-free camera. Capturing an external image is only half the system's purpose. Grabbing the exact contents displayed on a screen typically requires an operating system routine. Software-level screenshots are highly vulnerable to cryptographic bypass, physical tampering, and driver-level compromises. This graph illustrates endogenous mode, which secures a hardware-enforced screenshot of the active display. The logic board executes a phase shift override, snapping the emission and transfer gate lines perfectly in phase. By driving the lines together, the system forces a temporal collision. The internal sensors are integrating data while the OLEDs are actively emitting light. This cross-section shows the optical physics at work. Light rays emitted by the OLEDs that exceed the critical angle of the cover glass interface cannot escape. They are trapped via total internal reflection, bouncing off the glass boundary and traveling laterally to strike the neighboring sensor nodes. In this mode, the sensors are completely ignoring external ambient light. They are mapping the lateral waveguide leakage of the display's own localized emission. Because the light is trapped and routed entirely within the physical glass structure of the screen, the resulting screenshot is physically enforced. The image is captured before the data ever reaches the host operating system, effectively rendering software layer spoofing physically impossible. Reading the internal light scatter is not the same as taking a picture. The raw voltage data absorbed by the photodetectors is a jumbled, overlapping mess of wave-guided noise. This flowchart visualizes the mathematical reconstruction required to render the screenshot. The raw sensor data is extracted as a single mathematical vector, labeled S. It is then multiplied by an inversion matrix, labeled H to the -1. That inversion matrix is the inverse of a factory-calibrated crosstalk transmission matrix, a specific algorithm mapped to the unique physical scatter properties of that exact piece of cover glass. The hardware processor applies this matrix inversion to the raw voltage, mathematically untangling the overlapping photons. The output is a pixel-perfect map of the active display that exists strictly on the backplane, entirely isolated from external software corruption. The physical architecture achieves absolute isolation for the data. The legal architecture attached to this application achieves absolute isolation for the inventor. The acronym PERWIN is not a coincidence. It is named directly after retired Judge David S. PERWIN, the court-appointed mediator managing the inventor's domestic dispute. This is a declaration filed under Title 37, Code of Federal Regulations, Section 1.132. It establishes a definitive temporal anchor for the conception of the technology, specifically citing June 27, 2025, to legally preempt and defend against any claims of co-inventorship or derivation. The attached 40-page mediation transcript provides the context. Prior to the mediation meeting, the opposing party had filed a petition for a restraining order against the inventor, explicitly alleging he lacked the mental capacity to enter into legal contracts. The inventor notes in the transcript that this capacity dispute was filed as direct retaliation after he reported a group of individuals to the FBI. During the mediation, the inventor constructs a strict legal paradox. He points out that the opposing party cannot claim he is mentally incompetent in a court filing, while simultaneously attempting to bind him to a legal contract in mediation. He refuses to negotiate until the opposing party provides a handwritten note affirming his mental capacity. By having the mediator acknowledge this capacity dispute on the official record, the transcript proves the opposing party, their legal counsel, and the mediator contributed zero technical input to the conception of the display. The inventor took a highly contentious domestic relations mediation and embedded it directly into the public USPTO database, weaponizing the metadata of his own patent to construct an impenetrable shield against intellectual property theft. When we place the hardware scanner meticulously engineered exercises in absolute isolation, optically, the system protects a screenshot from vulnerable operating software by relying on the immutable physical law of total internal reflection. Light is trapped inside the glass, where code cannot touch it. Legally, the document protects the inventor's intellectual property from a hostile dispute by hard-coding a derivation defense directly into the patent's taxonomy. The transcript is trapped in the federal record, where civil litigation cannot alter it. This dual-purpose filing signals a shift in the intersection of deep tech engineering and aggressive litigation. A technical patent can now be engineered to function as a defensive legal trap. The PERWIN patent demonstrates that securing an invention against external threats requires manipulating the federal bureaucracy with the precision used to route photons through silicon. A true inventor must be as adept at engineering the law as they are at engineering the hardware.